Welcome to CA Sri Lanka webinar series. From today's session, I am going to discuss with you again part of budgeting and preparation and control. What part I am going to discuss with you out of that chapter, the regression and moving average method. So, why do we required, for what purpose we are using this method? The regression line and the moving average method we are using when we forecast, when we estimate future sales, maybe output, whatever the element you want. Basically, for forecasting purpose, so as a tool for forecasting, you can use what? The regression and moving average method, right? Based on the historical numbers, based on the trends, based on the seasonal effects, how future is going to be, how future numbers can be changed, behave. So, that is what we are going to forecast, estimate. For us to do that, we can use what? The regression and moving average method. That is the subtopic of this chapter, and if I relate that subtopic to your learning outcome, right, because we need to learn in outcome, because exam is testing learning outcome, right. In your chapter, the relevant learning outcome for this topic is what? 2.2.5. Calculate projected sales volume forecast using what? Regression and moving average method. And revenue, you have to project sales volume and revenue and cost using forecasting techniques. So, these are the techniques. What are the techniques? Moving average method, under regression method, one method is there. So, that is what we are going to discuss, right. If I first take, right, the regression method, right, under that least square method of linear regression analysis, that is what we need to discuss first. Before I come to this, I would like to remind this is not the first time you are learning this, right. This is there in your chapter number 11 in your study pack, but if you go to chapter number, I can't remember, maybe 2 or 3, I can't remember, under type of cost or a chapter name also I can't remember, but in that you have learned this, the least square method of linear regression analysis. What are we going to do here? We are going to understand the best fit of two variables. Let us say you have sales volume, right, sales level over the period of, let us say, month or weeks, right. Those are the two variables, the time and the output, or else sales price and the output, sales value and the output, right. So, if you take those two variables, price and the output, sales value and the output, or the period of time against, say, outcome of sales. So, those are two variables, right. What is the best fit to that two variables? We are going to identify through what? Least square method. If you do not understand, it is like this. Now, let us say here you have sales output, let us say 10 units, 20 units, 30 units, 40, 50, right. This is output. Here you have value, let us say 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. So what are the variables in this equation, in this graph? Output and the value. So from least square method, what are we going to find out? The best fit, right? When sales output increase, your sales value will be increased. So different outcomes you can find out. So what is the best fit? Where is the best fit? We are going to find out through what? Least square method. For that, we have an equation. So we'll discuss that equation and we'll discuss some questions from that equation. So then you will easily understand how can we use this technique as what? Forecasting technique, right? Fine. If you read the definition or introduction of this least square method, linear regression analysis, the least square method is one technique for estimating a line of best fit. What is the line of best fit? Let us say this is a line. Here you will find the best fit, right? That is what we are going to find out. Once the equation for a line of best fit has been determined, the forecast can be made. So whatever the outcome here will be the best fit. So based on that you can forecast, right? Let us say when output is 20, this is the sales value. Let us imagine. So if you draw this line, right? 20 unahama 300 enam 500 unahama kiyada? You can estimate that somewhere here, right? So this equation, if you figure out numbers for this equation, you can figure out what should be the estimated figure in future date, future outcomes. So let us say in 50, under outcome level of 50, what is the value? That you can forecast. Before that you have to identify, you have to figure out, you have to observe this equation. Based on that you can make forecast, right? Fine. Let me first erase this and explain that equation, right? The least square method explain this equation. What is that equation? Y equal A plus Bx. A plus Bx. This is the equation. Actually this equation is what? Regression equation. අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන බෑවුම. රේඛාවේ බෑවුම හොයන equation එක තමයි මේක. Regression. So which means if you understand this equation properly, it is like this. So this is y, right? Y. This is x. X. The regression line will be, let's say, බෑවුම අපි හිතමු මෙහෙම කියලා. Right? So we are going to identify බෑවුම කියලා කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේක. Methi? Right? So we are going to identify regression. So this equation is what? Y equal A plus Bx. There A means here, sorry, right. So when B is 0, sorry, x0 here, if you multiply B by x, right, let us say x equals 0, x equals 0, x equals 0 means whatever the number you multiply with 0, the answer is 0. Bx anyway will be what? 0. That you know, no? ඒ කියන්නේ x මෙතන 0 වෙන වෙලාවේ b කියන අගය බිඳුවත් එක්ක වැඩි කරාම උත්තරේ what? 0. So what is the value here then? We identify as what? A. Right? මේකේ බෑවුමට අපි regression එකට අපි කියනවා b කියලා. බෑවුම. regression එක තමයි b. මේ රේඛාවේ බෑවුම. Right? ඒකට අපි කියනවා b කියලා. The purpose of this equation, first of all, before we use this tool as forecast, we need to identify, we need to figure out b. ඉස්සරහේ b හොයාගන්න ඕනේ. Right? B. Not only that, we have to find out A also. B විතරක් හොයාගත්තද බෑ. So for us to use this least square method as forecasting tool, from this equation we have to figure out A as well as B. Once we figure out A and B with the numbers given for x and y, x and y will be given definitely, right? X and y will be given. So when we have x and y, which means numbers in this line as well as numbers to this line, if they are given, maybe let's say sales price and the value, or time period against output. So many variables there, x and y. When x and y variables are given to us, by using this equation, regression equation, we can find out A, which means A means what is the value when x is 0, basically. A. What is the value when x is 0? And from that we can observe again B, which means regression, බෑවුම. මේකේ බෑවුම. මේ දෙක දැනගත්තට පස්සේ from this equation we can figure out the future numbers. Now let's say දැන් ඔයා A දන්නවා B දන්නවා අපි එහෙම හිතමු. You know A and B, you observe, you calculated A and B. That's the equation. We'll discuss. Right? කොයි වෙලාව හරි exam එකේ right. This is third quarter. Third quarter එකේ sales output එක හොයන්න. මේ equation numbers ටික දාපම වෙනවා. මොකද අපි x and y දන්නවා දැන්. A and B හොයාගත්තා. A and B හොයාගත්තම x and y දාලා ඕන දෙයක් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. We'll discuss one question, right? මේ විදියට future period, let's say 20th quarter, sale how much, that you can figure out. ඒ ඔක්කොම කරන්න කලින් from this equation we had to figure out A and B. The A and B හොයන්නේ කොහොමද? Right? That is what I am going to discuss with you now. B equal, right? N means x or y කීයක් අපිට දීලා තියෙනවද? විචල්‍යංක සංඛ්‍යාව. Count of variables. Let's say you have 5 years time, which is n, number of variables, and sum of xy, x into y, x සහ y වල ගුණිතයේ එකතුව, sum of x and y වල ගුණිතයේ එකතුව, which means මෙතන අපි හිතමු 2යි මෙතන 5යි කියලා, 10, right? Number of variables you multiply by multiplication of x and y, sum of multiplication of x and y, minus sum of x into sum of y, sum of x into sum of y, divided by count of variables n into sum of power of x, minus sum of power of y, power of x. So this is the equation. So if you apply numbers to this equation, you can figure out b. Right? How do you figure out a from this equation? Right? Sum of y values minus b into, now you have figure out b in first equation. මෙන්න මෙතනවා b figure out කරගත්තා මේ. Apply that. b into sum of x divide by n, number of variables, n, here also n. So from these two equations you can figure out a and b. අපි ඉස්සලම හොයාගන්න ඕනේ a and b. a කියන්නේ මෙතන තියෙන අගය, b කියන්නේ බෑවම, regression. Right? From y equal a dana bx, a plus bx. x and y will be given. මේ numbers දෙක අපිට දෙනවා. මේ දෙක දුන්නම a and b observe කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. Thereafter you can formulate this equation. By using that equation, whatever future sales you can estimate. මේ line එක තමයි best fit එක. Right? Fine. The equation is there in the slide. If you read it further, right, a different line of best fit could be obtained by interchange in x and y in the formula. Different line for best fit you can observe by changing x and y. That's fine, that we know. This would then represent the regression of x upon y, regression of x upon y, right? A and b මාරු. ඒ කියන්නේ x සමානයි a ධන by. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාලට මෙහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා කියන්නේ. Now y equal a plus bx no, right? You can, if you want, you can find out x. X equal a plus by, right? A plus by. අර උක්ත කරනවා කියලා අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ. You can observe whatever number you want from this equation, right? And it would have slightly different slope, right? මේ regression එක නෙමෙයි, different slope එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්, different regression එකක් ඔයාලට දෙන්න පුළුවන්, right? b එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් ටිකක් ඒ වෙලාවේ. For examination purpose, always use regression of y upon x. Always y upon x. මෙන්න මේක use කරමු අපි හැම වෙලේම. මේකට යන්නේ නැතුව මේක use කරමු. exam purpose. Right? අනිත් විදිහට හොයන්නත් පුළුවන්. But y upon x is the best. Where x is independent variable. So here x is independent variable. And y is a dependent variable. Right? Y upon x means x is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable, whose value we wish to forecast for given value of x in time series. X will represent the time. X will represent the time. Right? Some other variables also can be represented, but in this case time. Let's say fine. දැන් ඔයාලට තේරෙනවනේ xy කියන equation එකේ බෑවුම හොයන සූත්‍රය තමයි ඒ දන bx. බෑවුමට අපි කියනවා regression කියලා. We can use this as forecasting tool. This is a summary. Before we use this as forecasting tool, we have to formulate this equation by finding b and a by using x variables and y variables. There, for exam purpose, we always use what? Y upon x equation, where x is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable. This is independent. Independent variable. Right? From that we can figure out this equation. That's the question. With this question you will understand this properly. If you don't understand with this explanation, you will understand this properly with this equation. Right? Sorry, question. Calculate an equation to determine the expected level of cost for any given volume of output using least square method. So this method called as what? Least square method. Right? You may assume the variable x as output. You have to assume this as output in this question, and y as was total cost. Y as total cost. So let's visualize numbers. Let me erase this properly. We will do it. So then you will easily understand. Y අපිට assume කරන්න කියලා කියනවා total cost. X ගන්න කියලා කියනවා output. They have given us 5 time periods. Output 2016, 24, 22, 18. 1, 2, 20. Sorry, they are asking you to give us a take like this, right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, right? Output. And total cost, let's say 20, 40, 60, 80, right? 82 also there, right? Fine. Anyway, right? Right. So X is the output. We have to take Y as what? Total cost. Prepare budget for total cost. If now they are asking, first question is what? Calculate equation to determine expected level of cost for any given volume of output. what is the expected cost for any given volume of output. For that we have to figure out the equation, best fit. Now by using these numbers we have to figure out what first B in this equation. A, question number 1, they are asking us to figure out what? A, formulate the equation. අපිට කියනවා equation එක formulate කරන්නලු. What is the equation? Y equal A plus Bx, where B need to find out. Where we need to figure out first B and A. මේ දෙක හොයාගන්න X and Y we know, variables we know. මෙන්න variables ටි මෙන්න cost ටික. අපි කොහොමද මේක හදාගන්නේ? Right, what is the equation? Equation එකේ අපිට මෙන්න මේවා ඕනේ නේ. Number of variables, x, y we need, x, power of x we required, power of y also we may required. Right? Fine. දැන් අපි ඔය ටික දාගමු එහෙනම්. We need we need x, sum of x we required, therefore let's say x, y, xy we need, sorry, we need these numbers, right? මෙහෙට ගමු අපි. xy, y, x. We need to fill this table first. Why? We need to have numbers for this equation. To get these numbers to this equation, we need to fill out this table. X, how x distribute over the period of time? X means output. 2016, 24, 2016, 24 and 22 and 18. 18. Y 82, 70, 70, 90, 85 and 73. So these are the numbers for x and y. So they have given x and y, they have given x 20 වෙලාවේ total cost එක මෙච්චරයි. x 10 වෙනාම total cost එක මෙච්චරයි. අපි මේකට ප්‍රස්ථාරයට දාන්න පුළුවන් x 20 වෙන වෙලාවේ y 82. Right? x 16 වෙන වෙලාවේ y 70. x 24 වෙනකොට y 98. x 22 නම් somewhere here y 85. x 18 නම් y 73. So this is if I enter these two variables into this scattered graph, right? graph එකට දැම්ම මෙහෙම තමයි යන්නේ මේ. මේක තමයි ඔයාගේ line එක ඕන. right? fine. මෙතනමුත් අපිට ඒක හොයන්න පුළුවන්. but equation එකෙමුත් අපිට හොයන්න පුළුවන් මේක b එක. right? now we need xy, no? x into y. xy ගුණිතය. take quickly. Twenty into 82, 1640. 16 into 70, 1120. 24 into 98, 2352. 22 in 2 into 85, 1870. 18 into 73, 1314. We need sum of x and y. අපි පස්සේ ගමු. අපිට මෙතනත් ඕනේ x power of x. x වල වර්ගය 20 වල වර්ගය 400යි. 16 256යි 256. 24 576. 22 484. 18 324. This is power of x, right? Power of y also we will calculate because it will require in future. 82 670 6724 6724. 70 power of 70 4900. 98 9604. 85 7225. 73 5329. So we have filled this table. Now we will calculate B. We require n. I am not writing this equation again, you can see this, right? N 1 2 3 4 5. N means 5 number of variables. There are 5 variables. 5. Then sum of xy we required. Sum of xy means this. Sum of xy. Kiyada 1640 1120 2352 plus 1870 plus 1314. 8200. Sorry, here 11 20 16 24 22 24 22 18 82 70 90. Here 90, no, sorry, that's a mistake, right? 90 85 and 83. 90, this will be changed then. 24 into 90 2000. This is correct, this is again will be changed. 8100. So then sum of this will be changed. $8,104. Sum of xy we need to multiply by 5. 8,104. So this part of the equation I have filled. Then from that you have to minus, deduct sum of x. Sum of x, which means this. Sum of x. 100. Sum of x 100. This part. Sum of x 100 into sum of y. $82 plus 70 plus 90 plus 85 plus 73. 402. sorry, 82, 70, 90, 400. Be careful when you do these calculations. Huh? Okay. Sum of x multiplied by sum of y. Done. Divide by 5 into power of x. Power of x. Power of x how much? Sum of power of x. මෙන්න මේක x වල ගුණිතය එකතුව. $2040 into 2040, 5 into minus, be careful with these numbers again, huh? Minus within bracket sum of x, be careful, sum of x how much? 100 into the power, right? Here also power of it, yeah. තේරුණානේ? right. දැන් මෙතන කරන the common mistake, you use 5 and take sum of power of x 240 and again you take the power of it. Don't take that, be careful, because we have calculated this number, this part we have already calculated. මේක තියනවා calculate කරලා මේ තියෙන එක. ඒකේ බලයක් ගන්න නැහැ. මේකම කට්ටිය මෙතන දානවා. බලන්න within bracket තියෙන මේක. within bracket ඉස්සලා sum of x you take. මේ තියෙන sum of x. ඒක ගන්න මෙතෙන්ද. and power of that figure 100 වල පාය. දැන් අපි එහෙම නැතුව right මේ බලවලුණා මේ දෙකම එක වගේනේ. sum of x වල වර්ගය sum of x වල වර්ගය. එහෙනම් මේ දෙකම දානවා එක. Don't do that mistake. Mathematics here there is no rocket science. හරියට බලලා දාන්න. වරහන කොහෙද තියෙන එක බලලා දාන්න. මෙතන තමයි වරහන තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් sum of x you have to take first and power of it. මෙතන එහෙම නෑ. I know most of you are struggling to enter numbers to this equation. Be careful there. දැන් ඉතින් numbers ටික දැම්මම very simple. 5 into 810 minus 100 into 400, 520 divide by 5 into 240 minus 100, 200. මුකුත් නැතු equation එකේ උඩ කෑල්ල calculator එක අහගෙන යන 5 into 8104 minus 100 into 400. So equation එක ගන්නවා ලස්සන පිළිවෙලකට. Then 5 into 240 minus 100 power of it. 200. 2.6. බෑවුම මෙන්න මේ රේඛාවේ බෑවුම b a plus bx no sorry y සමානයි a plus bx b 2.6. Now we have to figure out a, right? What is the equation for a? Take sum of y 400, sum of y 400 divide by 5 number of variables minus b 2.6 that we have calculated. Take the sum of x into 100 divide by n, right? 400 divided by 5, 80 minus 2.6 into 100 divided by 5, it means 5. $52, 28. A means 28. A 28. If you bring this line here, when x is 0, this entire part will be 0. When x 0, bx also 0. Right? එහෙම වුණාම a කීයද? 28යි. 28. Right? A 28. Now you can figure out the equation, right? Y equal a, you know, 28 plus b also you have calculated 2.6 into x. So this is the equation. This is the equation. This is the equation. So now how do you use this as forecast? This is a slope. මේක තමයි slope එක. දැන් ඔයා මේකේ තියෙන ඕනම එකක් ඔයාලට හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් නේ. මේ තියෙන x මේ වෙන වෙලාවේ y කීයද? අපිට තියෙන්නේ මේ පහ විතර ඩොට් පහ විතරයි. හැබැයි මේ regression line එක ඇන්දොත් ඔයාලට ඉස්සරහට තියෙන එකක් වුණත් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් මේ graph එක ඇඳලා. equation එක තමයි මේක. දැන් ඔයාලට graph එක ඇඳලා ඉන්න බෑනේ අනන්තර වෙනකල්. මේ graph එක මෙතන උඩරන් ඉන්න බෑ. හැබැයි ඔයාලට ඕන නම් somewhere let's say when x is 50, x 50 වෙනකොට y කීයද? That is forecast. When you have let's say 100 output, x 100, what is y? Estimate. For you to estimate that, you need to figure out a and b of this equation, which is called what? Least square method. මේකට අපි කියනවා least square method. Least square method. Right? Fine. So we formulate the equation. Now they are asking, prepare a budget for total cost. අපිට හදන්න budget. We need to prepare budget for what? Total cost budget එක හදන්න. If output is 22,000 units. Output එක 22,000 units නම් budgeted cost එක කීයද? Where the cost is, total cost is y, no? Y. A plus bx. A we have calculated 28. B also we need 2.6. X 22. (2.6) into 22 in plus 28. 85 point. 85.2. 85.2 in thousands if you take 85,200. That's the total cost. That's the total cost. ඉතින් exam එකේ මෙන්න මේ equation එක ඔයාලට දෙයි. y equal a plus bx. When x is this much, but the budget y. That is the exam question, examiner can test. Using what? Least square method. මේක ඉතින් ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න equation එක. Right? How do we calculate regression? B. බෑවුම. මේ රේඛාවේ බෑවුමට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ B regression. Regression කියන්නේ mean එකම බෑවුමනේ. Right. A කියන්නේ x 0 වෙන වෙලාව value එක. Right? Fine. That also we have calculated. Done. Now they are asking, C, calculate the correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient and state whether there is high degree of correlation between output and the cost. Very important topic again. Correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient. We will discuss. Correlation means behavior of two variables, which means the behavior of two variables, which means when output increase, what will be the cost? Whether it's increasing or decreasing. What's the behavior? Normally when output increase, cost increase, which means positive correlation. මේ පැත්ත වැඩි වෙනකොට මේ පැත්ත වැඩි වෙනවා. Positive correlation. When output increase, cost increase. Let's say when output increase, cost decrease. එහෙම නැහැ සාමාන්‍ය. Right? Which is called negative correlation. අනිත් පැත්ත. මේක වැඩි වෙද්දි මේක වැඩි වෙනවා if both variables are increasing. Which is called positive correlation. ධනාත්මක සම්බන්ධතාවය. When one variable increase, other one is decreasing, which is called negative correlation. Right? Negative correlation. Right? We need to discuss correlation coefficient. Right? Look at this slide. This has properly explained. Right? Degree of correlation. Let me erase this. We have done this. Therefore, I can erase. Right? Right. Let me explain. Now, if you look at these two graphs, y, x, y and x. This is the regression line. There you can see all the variables in this line. On this line, all the variables. Right? This is x. Right? May avila y equal a plus bx line, regression line. Right? The regression line, you can see all the variables they are in on this line. This is called perfect correlation. May I begin a perfect correlation. Perfect correlation. Correlation, perfect correlation, right? Perfect correlation. Not only that, this is called perfect positive correlation, right? Make it up in a perfect positive correlation, right? Perfect positive, and it's a positive correlation. Right? Which means when x increase, y also increase here, right? And if I take another graph, there are again y, x, but you can see regression like in the line is in this way. There are also variables on this line, x and y variables on this line. අපි මේකට කියනවා perfect negative correlation. Perfect correlation is there. and it's a negative correlation. Why negative? When x increase, now here perfect positive correlation coefficient, namely we use r plus 1. R plus 1, always r plus equal plus 1, which means x also increase, y also increase. When r minus 1, which means x increase, right? Me x වැඩි වෙනවා, x වැඩි වෙනවා, y අඩු වෙනවානේ. x වැඩි වෙනකොට y අඩු වෙනවා. It's a negative perfect correlation because all variables on this line are equal minus 1. Are equal minus 1. This is perfect correlation. This is perfect correlation again, but this is perfect negative correlation. අපි මෙහෙම දාමු. මෙහෙම වෙනස් කරනවා. ඒතකොට තවත් හොඳට තේරෙනවා. Perfect positive relation. Here perfect negative correlation. Perfect negative correlation. Another graph, if I draw, y x, right, y x, the regression line is this way, right, this way, but the variables are scattered but very close to line, but not on the line, scattered, right. එකක් දෙකක් මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, කැපෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, but not all, right. Scattered වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ හැම එකම on the line. මේක එහෙම නැහැ. මේක අපි කියනවා partial correlation. Partial correlation. භාගයට correlate. Partial correlation. Right? Partial correlation. R may be, let's say, මේ line එක ළඟින් ඉන්නේ. R plus 1 නේ හරියට on the line තියෙනවනම් මේ ළඟින් යනවා නම් maybe plus 0.8, plus 0.8, right? Very close to this line. But let's say variables are far from this line, like this, then R may be 0.6, not close to this line. මේ කළු පාට තියෙන ගත්තොත් line එකට දුරින් තියෙන. ඒ කියන්නේ correlation එක අඩුයි. එකට වඩා ටිකක් අඩු, හුඟක් අඩුයි. 0.6 වගේ. හැබැයි මේ line එකට ළඟින් තියෙන මේ red color dots 0.8 එකට ළඟයි නේ. එක කියන්නේ එක වුණොත් හරියට මේ line එකට එනවා. එකට ළඟින් තියෙනවා නම් 0.8 වගේ. එකට line එකට ළඟින් තියෙනවා 0.8. දුරින් තියෙනවා නම් 0.6. But it is what? Positive correlation. This is positive correlation. Right? Positive correlation. දැන් මේක අනිත් පැත්ත තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. Right? මෙහෙම තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. Y x. This is positive correlation at as well as partial positive. And line can be this way, and variable scattered close to this, as well as sometimes far away from this line, right? Done. And if I draw another graph, y and x, right? There you will find out variables විචල්‍යයන් මෙන්න මේ හැමතැනම, right? මේකද අපි කියනවා there is no correlation. මේ වෙලාවේ no correlation. correlation එකක් නැහැ. සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ. x වැඩි වෙනකොට y වැඩි වෙනවද අඩු වෙනවද එහෙම දන්නේ නැහැ. හැම තැනම තියෙන graph එකේ. Here no correlation. Now what you can observe here, if variables are on the line and if x and y both increase, coefficient 1 plus 1 exactly, which is perfect correlation, perfect positive correlation. Here එක විචල්යක් වැඩි වෙනකොට එක විචල්යක් අඩු වෙනවා නම් ඒකෙදි තියෙන්නේ negative correlation එකක්, but if all variables are on the line, perfect negative correlation, right? Here විචල්‍යයන් variables are close to regression line, which means and x increase then y also increase, correlation coefficient close to 1, close to 1, not 1, close to 1, which means red color dots. But if it is far away, විචල්‍යයන් තියෙන දුරින් නම් not close to 1, which means are maybe 0.6 kind of thing, positive partial correlation, partial positive correlation. Here other side of it, negative correlation and it's partial negative, sorry, partial correlation and partial negative correlation. Right? And here no correlation. And if you look at this graph, there the regression line, you let's say like this, right? And you can see like this, right? If regression line is like this, r equal 0, correlation එක 0 වෙනවා. So this is the behavior of variables. Based on the behaviors of x and y, you can establish these correlation coefficients, right? Fine. Now we have better understand which mean correlation එක මොකද්ද? මේ දෙක අතර සම්බන්ධතාව විචල්යන් දෙක අතර behaviors වල. මේක වැඩි වෙද්දි මේකට මොකද වෙන්නේ? right? මේක අඩු වෙද්දි මේ අනිත් විචල්යට මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒක තමයි අපි මේ correlation වල කතා කරන්නේ. Now you can see this slide, all what I explained there in the graph itself, right? Perfect correlation and partial correlation, and thereafter you have positive correlation definition means that low value of one variable associate with low value of other, low value of one variable associate with low value of other, and higher value of variable associate with higher value of other, right? Which is called positive correlation. Negative correlation means low value of one variable associate with high value of other, or high value of other variable associate with low value of other. So which is negative correlation, right? එකක් වැඩි වෙනකොට එකක් අඩු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේද මේකේ බලුවොත් එමේ දෙකම වැඩි වෙනවා. මේකේ price එක වැඩි වෙන්න අරක අඩු වෙනවා. Negative correlation, right? And partial correlation, no correlation you can see. Least square method, under that correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient means the degree of linear correlation between two variables. Degree of linear correlation between two variables is mean by correlation coefficient, right? Where x and y represent pairs of data for two variables x and y. N means number of pairs. Number of pairs means number of variables, right? So in that you can see if r plus 1 means variables are perfectly correlated, r minus 1 means variables are perfectly negative correlated, r0 means no correlation, uncorrelated, right? No correlated. So this is what I explained as it is there in the slide. Okay, now the question is in previous question part C we need to calculate numbers. I have erased, but you can take those numbers from the video if you rewind it, right? Calculate the correlation coefficient and state whether there is high degree of correlation between output and the cost. Output was x, cost was what? Y. So the question is they are asking whether a high degree of correlation between output and the cost. We need to establish whether there is a high degree of correlation coefficient, right? Fine. So for us to calculate correlation coefficient by using this graph, there is a formula again. So we'll draw that formula. Let me erase this. Once you draw that formula, it's a matter of applying numbers. From that you can find out what? Correlation coefficient, right? Thereafter we can see in between output and the cost what kind of relationship is there, right? Fine. Correlation coefficient which is R equal, there's the equation again, number of variables n into sum of xy minus, right, minus sum of x into sum of y, sum of y, right? The numerator equal to numerator that we have used for what? Regression line calculation. b හොයන්න use කරපු එකම තමා. Thereafter square root of it, square root of this මොකද අපි ගන්න ඕනේ? n number of variables into sum of x, sum of the power of sum of x, right? Sum of x minus, within bracket, be careful, right? Sum of x power of it, right? මේක දානකොට බලාගෙන මම explain කරන්න earlier, right? පිළිවෙලට දාන්න ඕනේ, right? Close the bracket. This one part of the equation. දැන් එක කැලක් ඉවරයි. You multiply these, right? Number of variables n into sum of y power of y minus open bracket minus sum of y power of it. Right? Fine. Now we have to apply numbers. N6 sum of x was how much? Sum of x was 100 minus sum of x 100 into sum of y was 400, right? 400. එතන මෙතන උත්තරේ වාට එහෙම ගන්න පුළුවන් කෙලින්ම නේ 520 වගේ ගණක් ආවේ මං හිතන්නේ right. Not 5-6 I think. Sum of xy, sorry. Sum of xy. Yeah. Sum of xy was 8,000. And for sum of x and sum of y. $520. So numerator very simple to calculate, but denominator be careful. අපිට කියනවා කොහොමද n be careful 5 දාන්න ඉතින් බලා ගන්න 5 sum of x power of x how much 2040 මේක තමයි දාන්න equation right minus sum of x කීයද sum of x 100 වල වර්ගය 100 වල වර්ගය close bracket මේ කෑල්ල ඉවරයි multiply right 5 be careful හදිස්සි වෙන්න එපා y වල වර්ගය කීයද sum of y වල වර්ගය sum of power of y 32,728 32,728 32,278 278 last column එක අපි බලමු last column එක y වල වර්ගය minus sum of y කීයද 400 power of it මෙන්න මේක තමයි equation එක make it square root of it my god be careful right මම පහලට සුළු කරන්නම් මේක right 520 right මේක එකවර ගහන්නත් පුළුවන් කොහොමද ගහන්නේ ඉතින් මම බලා ගන්නවා right 5 into 240 minus 100 power of it 200 මෙන්න මේ කැලේ එකතුව ඔයාලට ලේසි ක්‍රමයක් මම කියන්නේ right නැත්නම් ඔයා මේක පටල ගයි එකයි මෙන්න මේ කැලේ සුළු කරගත්තා මම right thereafter this one into 5 into 32,278 minus 400 power of it 1,390 520 278,000 square root of it. දැන් බලන්න 520 එකවර ගහන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි calculator වර්ගමූලය මේකේ 527යි 2.5 right 527 point let's say 3 whatever 520 divided by this 0.98 plus 0.98 plus 0.98 very close to 1 which means it has what correlation coefficient if it is exactly 1 r equal 1 means r equal 1 plus 1 perfect positive correlation perfectly positive correlation which means all variables are on the line මේ line එකේ තියෙන මෙන්න මෙහෙම යන line එක perfectly positive කියන්නේ මෙහෙමනේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම තියෙන්නේ දැන් අපිට ආවේ කීයද r equal plus 0.98 very close to 1 which means it's a high positive correlation but lines are very scattered if you look scattered graph endot ehema variables are not on the line but very close to the line and it's a positive correlation. How do you explain this? Variables which means when sales output increase cost also increasing it has high positive correlation එහෙම වෙන්න තියෙන chance එක හුඟක් වැඩි because it's close to 1 very close to 1 මේ 0.98 මේ line එක ළඟින්ම යන්නේ right ළඟින්ම යන්නේ but not on the line මේක තමයි මේකේ තේරුම හැබැයි ඒක අපි හිතමු r equal plus 0.5 වගේ කියලා එහෙනම් line එකේ මේ මෙහෙ යන්නේ දුරින් right but still positive but very far away from this regression line මේක තමයි correlation coefficient කියලා කියන්නේ right now the question is what calculate the correlation coefficient and state whether there is high degree of correlation between output and the yes there is high degree of positive correlation so how do you interpret this high degree of positive correlation high degree of positive correlation is there okay we have done it now there are two questions in the exam right so these are the exam questions that your examiner can be tested read and try till I erase this board these are type of questions so many questions we will discuss when it's come to past paper sorry model paper discussions but for the time being let's go through these two questions regression line and time series right so don't worry about slide heading go through the question the same so before question same technique can be applied to calculate regression line right regression line එක කියලා කියන්නේ graph එකේ output එකයි cost එකයි එකතු කරලා අඳින line එක trend line කියලා අපි කියනවා trend line for time series this is particularly useful for forecasting as with correlation years can be made from 0 upward ඒ කියන්නේ මේක අපිට use කරන්න පුළුවන්ලු forecasting tool එක. ඒක තමයි මෙච්චර කතා කරේ. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට තියෙන විචල්යන් තියෙන්නේ let's say for 5 years let's say 4 years 2 3 4 අපිට මේ years කියලා this is the number of years this is sales output right? First year, let's say 50,000, here 100,000, and here 150,000, here 200,000, right? අපි first දැන් මේ 4 years වල sale එක දානවා, right? First year වල 50,000, second year වල 100,000, third year වල මේ ගාන, fourth year වල ලක්ෂ 2යි කියලා මේ අන්දර line එක, right? අපි හිතමු not perfect positive correlation මෙහෙම යන්නේ කියලා, right? Very close to යනවා කියලා අපි හිතමු නිකන්. කොහොමද තමයි යන්නේ? Now based on this regression line, now මෙතන අපි දන්නවා x and y. a ධන bx වලට y සමානයි a ධන bx වලට දැම්මට පස්සේ years කියන්නේ x, මේ x, මේ ඇවිල්ලා output y. Now you wanted to calculate at the end of 10th year sales, right? 10th year, make a not perfect positive correlation, but let's say high degree of correlation coefficient එකක් තියෙනවා, right? මෙන්න somewhere here මේ line එකද කියන්නේ, මේ line එකද කියනවා 10 year එකේ මෙන්න මේ වගේ වෙලාවක, right? Let's say this year sales how much, that you can figure out. For you to do that, no need to draw this line. It's a matter of applying numbers. Here it will be 10 year, 10th year, right? The x will be 10, and AB you can calculate, already you have calculated, what is y? ආයෙක තමයි forecasting tool එකක් විදිහට use කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා කියන්නේ, trend line, right? Look at this question now. Regression analysis was used to find the equation y equal, they have given y equal 300 minus 4.7x, right? 4.7x, where x is time in quarters, y is sales level in thousands. Now you may have a question. අයියෝ මෙතන අපි මේ බලනකොට මෙතන ප්ලස් එකක් තිබුණේ, මෙතන මයිනස් එකක්. දැන් බෑවම මෙහෙම යනවා නම් ප්ලස්, මෙහෙට එනවා නම් මයිනස් වෙයි. බලමු අපි නම්බර්ස් දාලා. right? X is time, y is sales level. මේ time එකලු. X කියන්නේ time එක, y කියන්නේ sales ලු. දැන් මේකේ තේරුම තමයි x බිඳුවේදී time එක බිඳුවේදී sale එක 300 තියනවා කියන එක. right? Given x is 0, x is the time in quarters, y is the sales level in 1000 units, right? Okay. Given x equals 0, represent x equals 0 na, x 0 වෙන්නේ මේ හරිය, right? x 0 කියලා කියන්නේ 2020, let's say 2000 අපි 2000 කියලා Q1 ලු, quarter 1, right? x 0 කියන්නේ quarter 1, මේ කියන්නේ Q1 quarter 1, right? Calculate the forecast sales level in quarter 4, sorry, 2005. අපි මේක 10 කියලා දාමු. 2015 quarter 4, right? අපිට කියන quarter 4 වල sale එක හොයන්න කියලා, right? yeah, sale එක හොයන්නලු. right? අවුරුදු කීයක්ද? 2010 වල ඉඳන් 2015 fourth quarter. ඇත්තටම quarters කීයද? මෙතන කට්ටිය හිතනවා, right? 2000 අවුරුදු 5යිනේ. 5 වරක් අවුරුද්දට 4යි, 5 වරක් 20යි. 5 into 4. මෙන්න mistake ඒවා කරන. 4. 20 කියලා. එහෙම නෙවෙයි. බලන්න ඔතන කල්පනා කරලා 2010 වල එකයි. 2010 වල ක්වාටර්ස් 4යි. 11 වල 2යි. 12 3 14 13 4 14 5 15 6. එහෙනම් 6 years තියෙනවා. මේක වැරදි. 6 years into 4 24 quarters. 24 quarters තියෙනවා 2010 ඉඳලා 15 end වෙනකල්. 2010 11 12 13 14 15. ඒකෙත් බිඳුව කියන්නේ quarter 1 ලු. Be careful. Right? බිඳුව කියන්නේ quarter 1. එහෙනම් මෙතන Q1 නම් right? Q එතකොට 1 2 3 4 කියලා ගියපුවාම 24 කියන්නේ 23 නේ. තේරුම් ගන්න. 0 equal 1 නම් බිඳුව නම් Q1 කියන්නේ මේ 2001 Q1 equal බිඳුව මෙතන. If so, at the end of 2015 Q4 means 23rd quarter, not 24th. Be careful. 300 minus 4.7 into 24. 23. Yeah? Ah, 109.9, which means if you multiply this by thousands, right? It is in thousands, yeah. 19,190. That is what? Sales units. This is in 2015 Q4 19,110. 2010 Q1 වල තියෙනවා 30 Q1 වල තියෙනවා කීයද 30,000. Sorry, 300,000, right? $300,000. Right? X equal 0 කියන්නේ Q1 කියලා කියන x equal 0 කියපුවම x බිඳුව වුණාම මේ කැල බිඳුව වෙනවා. එතකොට a ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ 300. මේක මෙතෙන් වෙනකොට මේක අඩු වෙනවා මෙච්චරක්. ටයිම් එක වැඩි වෙනකොට සේල් එක අඩු වෙනවා 191,900. Yes. ලක්ෂ 3 ඉඳලා 1,91,900ට සේල් එක අඩු වෙනවා. So that is what the correlation coefficient. දැන් මේකේ ඕන correlation coefficient වලට හොයන්න පුළුවන්, but the trend is what? අඩු වෙන trend එකක් තියෙන්නේ නේ. ලක්ෂ 3 ඉඳන් 1,91,500 සේල් එක අඩු වෙනවා. That's why here it has minus. Right? Fine. Be careful when you calculate time. මෙන්න මේ වගේ පොඩක් tricky point මේ විසඳුම අපිට තේරෙනවනේ. මොකද Q1 එක නම් මේ තියෙන්නේ. මෙතන 1 කියන්නේ first quarter එක Q1 නම් හරි. එහෙම නෙමෙයි. තව එකක් පස්සට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ. Q1 කියන්නේ බිඳුව නම් හැම එකම පස්සට එනවා. 24 කියන එක 23 වෙනවා. අන්න එහෙමයි වෙන්නේ මේ. එක බිඳුව වගේම මේ පැත්තෙන් මේකට අඩු වෙනවා. Right. Second part of the question. Not second part. Second question. Over a 36-month period, we have been found to have underlying regression line y equal 14.224 plus 7.898 x, where y is the number of items sold and x is represent time. Again, same kind of question. I forgot to tell you about what you need to understand here. In this question, there's a negative correlation, but coefficient, whether it's very close to 1, 2, you have to calculate correlation coefficient. You can't come to that conclusion, but you can say there's a negative correlation, and trend you can say it's a decline trend. That's all you can establish. Right? Fine. Read this. All right. Try this question. So again, regression line. Apdi making x and y. X and y. Right? So we have to assume x as month, and y as what? Number of items sold, units sold. Units sold. Equation is what? Y equal 14.224 plus. There's a positive correlation, right? Positive pattern. 7.898. 7.898 x. Then අපෙන් අහන්න මොකද්ද? All the period of 36 month, right? 36 month, sales found to have underlying regression line. Okay, fine. Calculate the forecasted number of items to be sold in 37th month. Month of 37. Forecast එක අපේ අහන්නේ. X කියන්නේ months නේ. එහෙනම් අපිට 37th month එකේ 7.898 into 37, 14.224. When x is 0, බිඳුවෙනි month එකේ 14.224 sale එකක් තියෙනවා. බිඳුවෙනි month එකේ පටන් ගන්නකොටම, right? If you resolve this 14.224 7.898 into 37 plus 14.224 306.45, right? Which means basically, let's say 306 units. 306 unit. දැන් මේක බැලුවොත් මේ වගේ යන්නේ නේ පොසිටිව් පැත්තට යන correlation එක. because 14න් පටන් ගත්තොත් මෙහෙම යන්නේ. right? කාලේ වැඩි වෙන්න 37th month එකට ගියොත් 37 month එකට ගියොත් total output y equal for 306. 306. So මෙන්න මෙතන තමයි point එක. expected sale. So sales expected කරන point එක මෙතන මේ line එකේ. Right? Fine. If it is positive, perfect positive correlation තමයි on the line එන්නේ මේක. ඒකත් මදියක්. නැත්නම් වරද තේරුම් ගයි. For us to estimate that, we have to calculate what? Correlation coefficient. Done. So what we have what we need to understand, examiner can give this equation. From that you have to figure out sometimes x or sometimes y. Sometimes examiner will test whether there is a positive or negative correlation, from where you can figure out that. From the sign itself you can figure out whether positive or negative trend is there. Right? The correlation coefficient, if high degree or low degree, you have to calculate and see what correlation coefficient. So in short, what we have discussed in this chapter, so least square method we have used to estimate sales. How? Through trend line. What is the equation for trend line? Y equal a plus bx. So where a and b we have calculated based on the given variable for x and y. Once we formulate that equation, you can estimate future sales or whatever outcome. Further, we can see whether there is high degree of correlation coefficient by applying numbers again to correlation coefficient formula. If R equal to 1 plus 1, which means perfect positive correlation. If R equal minus 1, it's perfect negative correlation. If R equals 0, there is no correlation, which means you can't figure out whether X is increasing or decreasing when Y is increasing or decreasing when X change. Right? For exam purpose, always think X is the independent variable, and Y is what? Dependent variable. So you have to think in this way. Okay, fine. We have done first part of the session, which is the regression line, right? Least square method of linear regression analysis. So second part of this session is what? Moving average method. We will discuss moving average method during next session. Thank you.